final part in Info Information Management. The contents which we are going to discuss by today is Ethics in IT, User Interface Reporting. So first topic is Ethics in IT. So we follow certain ethical principles in use of information technologies called Ethics in IT. So next is the policy statement. We are taking example for Jan Carroll University. Any access or use of information technology that conflict with the IT resource policy is considered as violation of policy. Next is the purpose. So the purpose of the university is to provide teaching, learning, service and research to ensure the laws. So they will be following laws in ethics. Next is the users. So the users are responsible for CIA, that is confidentiality, integrity and accuracy of information. If users misuse the information or using any harmful, abusive data which negatively affects the university, so it is one kind of violation of IT policy. So next is the definition for data. So the information which is processed, stored, maintained or copied to or from IT resources called data. Functional unit. So the department, office, program are considered as functional unit and it is authorized to use the IT resource. Next is the IT resources. So it includes the network, computing, communication, software, hardware, etc. When talking about user, any individual who uses the IT resources individually or network with or without authorization is called user under this policy. So in case of sensitive data, the data is designated as private or confidential by law. That is employee records, personally identifiable information, student records, etc. If there is any unauthorized access is permitted, is violation of this policy. Next topic is the policy elaboration in ethics. There is technical and content based restriction. So it imposes the technical restriction on the access of the network. Next is the access code. So the user must take precautions to prevent unauthorized uses of the passwords. Privacy. If any user engage in finding information about someone's private affairs in system is violating of policy. Sensitive data. So any breaches in security is reported to legal and ethical obligation. Violation of law. So the users are responsible to follow the law and they respect the university policy. So in case of violation of law, promoting a pyramid scheme, possessing child pornography, making bomb, these are the different kinds of violation of law. Now talking about the promoting a pyramid scheme. So in case of illegal pyramid scheme, so they're not talking about any business. So in case if you refer people into the business, the person will get paid. That is called promoting a pyramid scheme. Intellectual property rights. The university requires the user to respect the intellectual property rights. So in case of copyright, so the IT resources should get copyright to access the applications or software or hardware. They should get patent for using the particular forum. Next is the software. So without the prior approval from the owner of the software by law, we should use the software to only if we get license to use the software. Fair use. So we can use the copyrighted material without authorization from the holder, that is a copyright holder, for educational purposes. So for example, we can talk about the classroom practices of copyrighted material. but it does not mean that you can use the particular software without the copyright, without authorization. And next is the ownership. So all the employees and students use the university as a part of employable activity. So employment activity for purpose works for hires, they'll be doing all the works. It does not alter the policy or position of the intellectual property ownership. So reporting infringement. So if any user finding this in any breaking the term of law or agreement is the violation, it has to be reported. So the next topic is the user interface. So the user interface is also called UI or interface. So it's a human machine interaction purpose it is developed. So the person who controls the hardware or software device, they develop user friendly experience, and it allows the user to interact with the hardware or software in a natural and the intuitive way. So for example, in case of hardware device, remote control, software program, keyboard and the mouse. So in clear, what I mean by interface, that is user interface, a developer, they will be developing the app in a user friendly manner. So the user uses, for in case of Android phone, you will have different applications inside the app. So designing the app is one kind of user interface. So when you're talking about quality, you will have 8 quality or characteristics. The first one is the clarity. So we should not use ambiguous language. We should avoid ambiguity, use clear language. Concision, that is interfaces gives the clarity, and we should label everything, but it should not contain too much stuff on screen. If you provide label for everything, it looks like a too much overload. It is not good for the user to visualize. So it should clear and it should have a concise format. Familiarity. So they are talking about familiarity. First time user uses the app, they should have the feeling of familiarity while using the particular application. We should use the real life metaphors to communicate the meaning. Responsiveness. So the good interface, when you're talking about the interface, it should not be inactive. It should give good feedback to the user, what's happening, whether the user input is processed. Likewise, the particular interface has to be designed. Consistency. When you're talking about the consistency, so we should keep the interface consistent in app. It helps the user to recognize the usage pattern. We should follow the same pattern while designing the application, so the user can recognize the usage pattern. Aesthetics. When you're talking about aesthetics in user interface, so while designing the app or icons, so we should create the environment to the user, makes the interface very attractive. Next is the efficiency. So time is money. So the apps which provides the user more productive by giving shortcuts and good design. So final character is the forgiveness. So it will not punish the user in case if they done any mistake. So instead they can provide the remedy. Next is the different types of user interface. First one is the direct manipulation interface. So the manipulator using the DMI, we can manipulate the object in the physical world. GUI, that is graphical user interface, it accepts the inputs and provides the output on the monitor. You'll have two GUI design. First is the object oriented user interface, application oriented interface. Web based user interface, so it accepts the input and provides the output by generating the web pages, so which are transmitted via the internet, and it is reviewed by the user using JavaScript, Ajax, Flux and the traditional format is the HTML based web browser. Next is the touch screen. So the good example for touch screen is our mobile phones. So it accepts the input by touch finger and provides the output. Next is the command line interface. When you are talking about the command line interface, example is the Windows command prompt. So user gives the input using the command string with the keyboard and provides output by printing text on the monitor. So as we discussed different types, next is the hardware interface. Touch user interface using the touchpad similar to touch screen. The same method is the touch user using the touchpad as the touch screen displays the combined input and output. They will get the result. Next is the command line interface. As I said earlier, we can use the command prompt, that is Windows command prompt or the strings, using the command strings to give the input in the keyboard and we will get the printed output. Hardware interfaces. So hardware interfaces in the sense we can use the spatial interface found on the products such as dashboards, airplane cockpits. So that is generally a mixture of button, switches and touch screens. Attentive user interface. So it decides when to interrupt the user and provide warning as well as message presented to the user. Next is the intelligent user interface. So it's a human machine interaction to improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of the human machine interaction. We are providing the graphics, natural language as well as the gesture. Motion tracking interfaces using the monitor the user body motion as well as a gestures and translate the into the command. That is called motion tracking interface. So the Apple company get the patent of motion tracking interface. Multi-screen interface using the floating app which is available in the Play Store. We can download the app and we can install the app to use the multi-screen facility. So the multitask to see the multi-screen in mobile, we can use the floating app. Non-command user interface. So the non-command user interface which observes the user to conclude from the evidence rather than explicit statement. Object-oriented user interface. So it allows the user to manipulate the simulated objects. Reflexive user interface. It redefines the entire system via the interface. The final topic in today's session is reporting. So these things which we discussed in Unit 1 itself, that is management reporting system. So the information system which supports all the different levels of management. So in case of short-term schedules and budget, and they will be focusing on the small groups. In case of long-term plans and budget, we will be concentrating on the entire organization. So the management reporting system, it provides the routine, detailed and the voluminous information report to the manager to take the decision. So to prevent information overload, the reports can be automatically sent only under the exceptional circumstances. So for the specific request from the manager, they will send the reports. So in case of decision support system and business intelligence, so all the information system, the main focus for the information system, it will support the manager for decision making purpose. So the system is developed to analyze the massive collection of the data. So it is otherwise called the business intelligence. you'll have two different types of decision support system. First one is the model driven and second one is the data driven. In case of model driven decision support system, a pre-programmed model is applied for a limited data set. So it helps a manager to take a decision such as a sales database for the present quarter. Using the sales database, we can predict certain things. That is, for example, so to fix the selling price of the new product, the manager has to analyze the marketing decision support system. So they will be using the different factors such as price of the product, cost of the goods, promotional expenses in various media, sales volume for the over the entire first 5 years in the market. So these factors has to be considered to fix the selling price of the particular product. So we will be fixing the most profitable selling price by considering these factors. Next one is the data driven business intelligence. So we will be analyzing the large pool of data, so that is already available in the data warehouse, that is called data mining. So the data mining is used to discover the patterns such as sequence, cluster or correlation. So using the data driven decision support system, we are using the statistical model. That is an artificial intelligence techniques can be used such as expert system, neural networks or machine learning. So these things are to be used from the data warehouse to predict the future. That is, text mining helps in finding the buying trends of a product. So targeting advertisements, detecting fraud, these things can be found using the data mining. So the important variety of decision support system, it helps the decision maker to work together in the same place without necessarily being the same place at the same time. Using these tools for brainstorming and reaching the consensus. Next topic is the executive information system. So the executive information system, which provides the highly summarized and the convenient form of the data, that is graphical digital dashboard. So the senior managers employ informations from the informal sources of information. So using the information in a summarized form, the decision maker will take a decisions. Final one is the acquiring information system and the services. Now talking about the information system, it is the major corporate asset. It respects both the benefit and provide the high cost. So the organization has to plan for the long-term acquiring information as well as services to support the business. So the long-term corporate plan as well as the requirements from various individuals, from data workers as well as from the top management. So these information helps to identify the project priorities. For example, certain projects may be carried out immediately to satisfy the new government reporting regulation, or sometimes to interact with the new customer information system. So it may have given a higher priority because of the strategic role or the greater expected benefits. So we are concluding the unit 4 by today. Thank you.